On April 29, 1975, the last American helicopter lifted off from the roof of the U.S. Embassy in Saigon, carrying a handful of civilians. Below them, South Vietnam was collapsing into the hands of the North. This marked the dramatic and painful end of America's involvement in the Vietnam War. Just a few years after losing Taiwan's diplomatic recognition to China, the United States had now lost another key ally in Southeast Asia, South Vietnam. President Richard Nixon had overseen the withdrawal of American troops and was riding high on his success. In the 1972 U.S. presidential election, he achieved a record-breaking victory, winning 49 out of 50 states, one of the biggest landslides in American political history. But behind that triumph was a dangerous secret. Just months before the election, on June 17, 1972, 5 men were arrested for breaking into the Democratic National Committee headquarters in the Watergate building in Washington, D.C. Their goal was to install wiretaps and steal political information. These men were connected to Nixon's re-election campaign. At first, the scandal seemed minor. President Nixon publicly denied any involvement and insisted that the White House had nothing to do with the break-in. The American public believed him, and his landslide re-election went ahead. However, the FBI's investigation continued. Behind the scenes, Nixon and his team tried to cover up the crime. They paid hush money to the burglars and used the CIA to try and block the FBI's investigation. Then, a secret informant known only as Deep Throat began leaking damaging information to journalists. Soon, the Senate launched a formal investigation. White House counsel John Dean testified that the president had been involved in the cover-up. Other senior officials confirmed the story. Tapes recorded in the Oval Office revealed Nixon's involvement in trying to obstruct justice. The nation was stunned. Protests broke out across the country. Trust in the government plummeted. Faced with certain impeachment and removal from office, Nixon resigned on August 9, 1974, the first president in U.S. history to do so. His vice president, Gerald Ford, became president and later pardoned Nixon in an effort to heal the nation. Meanwhile, the human cost of the Vietnam War had become undeniable. Over 58,000 American soldiers were killed and more than 300,000 wounded, many with lifelong injuries. The war cost the United States more than $150 billion, which would be nearly $800 billion in today's money. For Vietnam, the suffering was far greater. More than 1 million North Vietnamese soldiers and fighters died, along with 200,000 South Vietnamese troops, and at least 1 million civilians. Some estimates put the total number of Vietnamese deaths above 3 million. 1 in 10 Vietnamese people was either killed or wounded. The U.S. had dropped over 7 million tons of bombs on Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, far more than what was dropped in all of World War II. It also used napalm and chemical agents like Agent Orange to destroy forests and crops. One photograph, a young girl running naked down a road, screaming after a napalm attack, became one of the most powerful anti-war images in history and helped turn public opinion further against the conflict. America had not only lost the war militarily, it had lost it morally. It failed to stop South Vietnam from falling to communism. But politically, it had managed to weaken the Soviet-led communist bloc by drawing China into a more cooperative relationship with the West. The lessons were clear. The draft was abolished. No longer would Americans be forced to fight in unpopular foreign wars. The military was modernized, focusing more on technology, drones, and strategic strikes rather than sending in large numbers of ground troops. Fortified bases and armored vehicles became the norm, aimed at minimizing American casualties. Losing soldiers had proven more damaging than losing battles, as public pressure could bring wars to an end faster than enemy fire. Even after the Vietnam and Watergate disasters, the Cold War was far from over. China had been neutralized, but the Soviet Union remained America's main adversary. The U.S. sought a way to strike back, to regain strength, and to make the Soviets bleed the way America had in Vietnam. That opportunity would soon come in Afghanistan, and this time America would not fight directly. With help from Pakistan and a new strategy of covert war, it would arm and support local fighters to bring the Soviet Empire to its knees.